high-density cocktail. Fancy a cocktail? Well, you're just in time. In the next few seconds, we'll show a cocktail concoction which you have never seen before. Take a look. Here's a good old clear tall glass container. Add in some liquid ingredients. That's 1 part colored water, 1 part cooking oil, and 1 part colored 70% isopropyl alcohol. Now watch as we combine the ingredients one by one. First, the water. We colored it blue so you can see the effect better. Then the cooking oil, which will remain uncolored because it has a yellowish hue. And lastly, the alcohol, here colored in red. Seeing a pattern now? Okay, let's continue. Don't stop now. So what makes a liquid a liquid? Liquids, by definition, are the incompressible fluid that takes the shape of its container. It also maintains a constant volume independent of any pressure. Sure enough, if you put any liquid in a square container, then it takes that shape. So that seems pretty consistent with what we are observing. But what's this? Well, ever heard of the saying, you can't mix oil and water? It's an idiom, meaning you can sometimes put two different things or groups together. But it's also because, well, you can't mix them, can you? That's because liquids have different densities. So what is density? Density is the unit of mass per unit of volume. This means the measure of how much matter or material is contained in a defined space. The formula for density is m over v, or mass over volume. There's a popular legendary tale that tells us about the discovery of the concept of density. Tasked with finding out if the king's crown is pure gold, Archimedes thought of ways to test the crown's integrity. Now, pure gold has a specific density different from fake gold. So while taking a bath, Archimedes noticed that when he slipped into the tub of water, some of the water slipped out of the tub. Then it hit him. "Eureka!" he screamed, meaning, I have found it. Denser objects tend to stay at the bottom of water rather than float. So if the crown were fake, it would not completely submerge, or at the very least, displace only a little amount of water. But that's solids, you say. But don't forget, liquid is matter too, and has its own density. So going back to our little trick experiment, you can now see that the differences in the densities of the different liquids we used allow them to seemingly float on top of the other. Well, check it out. The liquid water stays at the bottom, while the least dense, the alcohol, stays on top. Okay, now take a long spoon and try to mix it. Well, they're supposed to mix, or so you thought. Again, it's density at play here. And watch as the layers magically go back in place. Okay, here's a little experiment that might involve you going into a vacation. Sort of. Okay, consider a swimming pool. When you jump in the water, you sink then float, right? Well, that's because the human body is approximately 70% water. That's why you float. But now, consider the sea with its salt water. Salt water is denser than fresh water. That's why it's easier to float in salt water. There's a place in the world where it's 8.6 times saltier than the ocean. And having a higher salt content means higher density. This means people can float so much easier in the Dead Sea. And it's all because of different densities.